5 just confirmed with SeaOM that they are a go for mission launch. This raises speculation about a potential military operation. Newly published messages by The Atlantic magazine appear to show U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Heath sharing information about U.S. airstrikes on Yemen earlier this month. The messages reportedly include exact timings of drone and missile attacks on the Iran-backed Houthis, followed by updates on target hits. The Atlantic, whose editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, was allegedly added to the chat by mistake, has published the full exchange of real-time messages sent on the encrypted app Signal. Some Democrats are now calling for Secretary Pete Heath's resignation, citing his disclosure of sensitive and classified information. A senior U.S. official expressed outrage over the handling of the situation, saying, "I spent my life in service to this country. I deployed 3 times to combat in service to this nation. I learned in that time in service that responsibility is core to leadership. You accept responsibility when things go wrong. You admit mistakes. You set the standard from the very top. It is completely outrageous to me, completely outrageous, that administration officials come before us today with impunity. No acceptance of responsibility, excuse after excuse, but we send our men and women downrange to do incredibly difficult, incredibly dangerous things on our behalf." Russia has stated that some Western sanctions must be lifted before it begins a maritime ceasefire with Ukraine. This comes hours after the U.S. announced that both sides had agreed to halt strikes in the Black Sea under separate agreements. The Kremlin clarified that the ceasefire would only take effect once sanctions on specific Russian banks were removed. Meanwhile, Moscow launched a drone attack on the Ukrainian port city of Mykolaiv. Ukrainian officials, including President Volodymyr Zelensky, condemned the attack, calling it a clear signal that Russia does not seek peace. At least 24 people have died as wildfires continue to ravage South Korea's southeast region. Most of the victims are in their 60s and 70s, with 12 reported to be in critical condition. Over 23,000 residents have been forced to evacuate. A historic 1,300-year-old temple was gutted by the fire, though authorities managed to transport many cultural relics to safety before the damage escalated. Denmark has welcomed a change in the itinerary of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife, Usha. Initially planned as a multi-day visit to Greenland with cultural engagements, the trip has been cut down to a single-day visit to the U.S. Thule Air Base. 2 aircraft from the French display team Patrouille de France crashed during rehearsals. The 3 pilots on board ejected safely and were found alive and conscious. The aircraft were rehearsing near Airbase 113 in Saint-Dizier. The Sudanese army has announced the recapture of Khartoum International Airport from the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, marking its latest victory in the brutal 2-year civil war. General Mohammed Abdelrahman Alawi, who led the operation in eastern Khartoum, confirmed that troops had fully secured the airport and expected to clear the remaining RSF fighters by the end of the day. This follows the army's recent takeover of the presidential palace on Friday and the reclamation of other key state institutions. Prince Harry has resigned from Sentebale, a charity he co-founded in 2006 to support people in South Africa living with HIV and AIDS. The resignation follows a reported breakdown in relations between the charity's board and its chairwoman, Dr. Sophie Chandala. Prince Siaiso of Lesotho, Harry's co-founder, has also stepped down alongside the board of trustees.